Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
It's another edition of Purple Daily NFL Takes. We have currently 4 episodes of Purple Daily, all of them live streams. If you missed any of them in the last 24 hours during the free agency period here, you can check them out. Probably the biggest 24-hour offseason period, not counting Brett Favre signing in 2009 in recent Vikings history, just with the amount of money they had to spend. So as we've been super Vikings focused the last 24 hours, now it's time for us to unleash some broader NFL takes here. Gentlemen,
let's go.
And before we do that, a reminder that the Purple Daily Draft Party tickets are now on sale at scorenorth.com/draft. The 2025 Purple Daily Draft Party presented by Standard Heating and Air Conditioning. We're back at the Fillmore in Minneapolis Thursday, April 24th at 7 p.m. And hell, that might just turn into a free agency celebration because people are still going to be, I think fans are still going to be on cloud 9 after what they've done here. But yeah, general admission tickets are available for just $10. And you'll get a flag, too, by the way. One of the Judd Zulgad custom sports tag flags.
I'll sign it for you.
And VIP tickets also available, including a meet and greet with the show beforehand, premium balcony seating, 2 drink vouchers, a food voucher, snapback hats, etc. Scorenorth.com/draft to get those tickets and come hang out with us. It's always our most fun annual celebration of the audience, the show, and the Vikings, and we'll see what they do in the draft. They might even trade back, but I think everyone's going to be having so much fun that if they get enough draft capital, people might cheer the trade back. I think that's where we're going to be at here.
That's true. A rarity, but true.
Yep. All right. I'll throw out the first take here for you guys. Mm-hmm. Kind of alluded to this a couple days ago when Sam Darnold signed with the Seahawks, but I think the Sam Darnold contract in Seattle is going to wind up being one of the biggest bargains of any contract in the NFL.
Wow.
Okay. It's a 3-year, $100 million deal. It's the same contract Baker Mayfield received like 2 or 3 years ago. I think 2 years ago. So it's just the Baker contract minus the inflation. The league finally drew a line in the sand after countless terrible quarterback contracts. The Deshaun Watson fully guaranteed deal, the Cousins contract after an Achilles, some of these quarterbacks coming off rookie scale deals like Tua and Jordan Love, where you're not totally sure, but I guess we got to give you the bag. Here's $55 million a year. Sam Darnold at $33 million or Dak Prescott at $60. Sam Darnold at $33 or Jordan Love at $55. Sam Darnold at 33 or Tua at 53. I could keep going down the list. Trevor Lawrence, who's being paid on potential. We're talking about $20 and $30 million gaps per year between Sam Darnold, who was a top 10 MVP vote getter, a guy that threw for 4,300 yards, 35 touchdowns, had like 4 or 5 clunker games out of the, 18 that he played?
Yep.
By the way, Patrick Mahomes has clunker games sometimes, not putting them in the same category. But I think when it's all said and done, I think the Seahawks, I don't think they're winning a Super Bowl with Sam Darnold, but if you're a team in transition and you're looking for a professional quarterback, you could do a lot worse than Sam Darnold at $33 million a year. So bravo to the Seahawks. They got younger. I think they got better and a better fit for their system. Bravo to Sam Darnold for getting a nice little 9-figure bag, $100 million. And if you're the Vikings, bravo for not getting locked into what might be a team-friendly deal, but will still take up $33 million of your expenditures. I just think this is going to be a bargain of a contract.
The remarkable thing is, at the end of the day, the word from the combine, I guess, what was correct, because to get Darnold, the Seahawks first had to clear Geno Smith and trade him to the Raiders. So the word from the combine was that the market for Darnold was essentially non-existent, which must have been true. Like Seattle was trying to clear him. Here's the incredible thing. Sam Darnold's success with the Vikings, while impressive and while certainly impacted by those last 2 games especially, Sam Darnold's season with the Vikings was seen more like Case Keenum's 2017 than it was like a real, hey, this guy's turned a corner.
Yeah,
Like,
and I
that's
think
the
that's a
incredible thing.
mistake. I think and we don't know at the end of the day. This looks like the Steelers as we record this here on Tuesday morning. It looks like the Steelers are going to get into the Aaron Rodgers business. And if that was a Steelers decision, Rodgers over Darnold, as opposed to a Darnold decision, hey, I'd rather live on the West Coast. I just like it better in Seattle. I don't want to play in Pittsburgh, which I could see.
I don't think so.
If it's a Steelers decision, I think it might wind up getting Mike Tomlin fired or traded as the head coach of that team. I mean, you're gonna really like a 40-year-old combustible Aaron Rodgers with DK Metcalf and George Pickens. At least Sam Darnold could sit there like Teflon and take the drama in stride. I don't think that Rodgers is going to.
Well, and I love the arm, right? Like the Darnold arm, he's what, 27?
Yes.
Rodgers is 41, if I'm not mistaken now. And it had to have been a Steelers decision, because if you're Darnold's agency, if nothing else, you'd play the game, right? Steelers come with this, Seattle comes with this, and now you're going to get more. It feels like, and it's a lot of cash, but it feels like the Darnold camp basically took what they could get and just signed. Not like there was this, okay, Pittsburgh's got this, and then we're going to go look. It really appears that the market for this guy was damn near zero, which I am really surprised about.
Yeah, it was. We were actually talking about this on O-line committee with Searles and Boone yesterday, that for years and years and years, just the next man up would set the new market. Matthew Stafford, now you're the highest paid quarterback in NFL history. And now it's Matt Ryan going back like 10 years ago, all the way forward to Dak Prescott. Like if you were the next guy up, even Jordan Love, we saw you for 8 games. You're not going to be the highest paid quarterback, but you'll be top 3.
Yeah.
And Sam Darnold, I mean, he's still going to be fine. I think he'll be fine for generations now with this contract, even if it doesn't reach the whole $100 million. But it's like, here he is. He's in line next at the ticket counter. Let's back up the Brinks truck. And the league said, yeah, I think we're done with those contracts now. Those last couple games scared us a little bit. And you're going to wind up, he literally wound up losing probably $20 million a year on the value of this contract, based on the league finally drawing a line and based on his last 2 games.
But I think the league drew the line specifically for him, and I think it's going to go back now. Like it feels like the league looked at this and said, you're just a fluke. So like, I think the next guy is going to get the bag. That's the incredible thing. Like we all knew those last 2 games would cost him. I would not have predicted this much. Like they look at him as a fluke.
It probably wound up costing him. PFF projected pretty early in the process, like $41 million a year on a 3-year deal.
Right around the tag.
So minimum, this cost him $25 million over the duration of the contract, maybe even more than that.
Well, and it explains why at the Combine that the Vikings did indeed try to get teams to bite with the intention of trying to tag him and trade him.
Yeah.
And they found out there was nothing for him.
Yep. Yeah, this makes it clear that there was no amount of chess Kwesi could have played. I was 100% wrong with my read on this. I thought, hey, these teams are laying low in the weeds. The Steelers, it's going to get up to like $45 million, which would still be a $10 million a year discount on Tua and Trevor Lawrence and Jordan Love. So good for Sam, good for Seattle.
I'll piggyback off you because the disrespect is real still for Sam Darnold. That's kind of my NFL take. So Shahil Kapidia of The Ringer. And by the way, I don't know what Sam Darnold ever did to The Ringer, but The Ringer hates Sam Darnold. Like, I really am. I want to know the inner workings here, because from Stephen Reeves with the quarterback rankings, who never ranked Darnold higher than the 21st best quarterback in 2024, which is a little crazy to me. And then Shahil Kapidia graded the contract that they gave Darnold, it's the Seattle Seahawks, as a D. He graded it as a D and said Darnold gave the Vikings mediocre quarterback play last season, and now he's in a worse environment. Now we can debate, hey, the environment probably is going to change for Sam Darnold, and how good truly is Sam Darnold without Kevin O'Connell? I think that's still a valid question. But man, between the bookends of the last 2 games of Sam Darnold's tenure with the Vikings and the first, 6 years of his career, they just look at what he did at the majority of Kevin O'Connell as a fluke, and it's still mediocre and it's not good enough. The disrespect for this poor guy, it's substantial.
He had now, and Seattle is going to have a lot of work to do up front. Seattle, I think Mina Kimes put this out, noted Seahawks fan also, that the Seahawks offensive line gave up the highest percentage of quick pressures, meaning like within 2.5 seconds of any offensive line in the league. So yeah, infrastructure is going to be different. They've got some things to add, but just Sam Darnold in a vacuum, I think he had 4 awful games. And then like another couple games, the Jets game was a disaster. The Jaguars game was a disaster. The Colts game before that, he had like a really bad half for sure. So let's call that 2.5. And then obviously the Lions and the Rams games at the very end. And there was a couple other like head scratching throws here and there. You're not going to eliminate all those, but can you say he gave the Vikings mediocre quarterback play when he had, let's say, 4.5 clunkers, but then literally played like a top 5 quarterback in the other games that he played in? It is disrespectful.
They won 14 games. And the dude had an arm. And I would say the Jets game was super shaky, but not like the clunkers to me were Jacksonville. You're right. Probably the first half of that Colts game and the last 2. Like the Jets game I didn't like, but it wasn't this epic disaster. It was just sort of a window into who Sam can be, but it wasn't off the charts bad. But yeah, to consider a 14-win season in which the dude was a sort of a dark horse MVP candidate for a good portion, mediocre, I'll show you. If you want to see mediocre, we got that for you. We've seen that before from quarterbacks.
Yeah.
You don't win 14 games with mediocre. All right, here's my statement. So the Vikings got their Will Fries, but when you get fries, they're sort of salty. And so you need to get a drink, and you put that drink in a cup. I think the odds are growing stronger. Cooper Kupp might come here. So there's a story now, not surprising. This whole thing that broke in February of the Rams are going to trade Kupp. Well, you look at Kupp's contract, and quite frankly, at his age, and the fact that the Rams are basically saying, we're done here, it doesn't give him, it's not like he can shop him for a high pick, right? And so I think everyone who has an interest in Cooper Kupp around the league is saying, cut him. And now the reports are out that if they can't trade him, which I don't think is going to be the case because of his contract, he's going to be cut. And I think if he's cut, I think there is a decent chance. Now, a team like Seattle could step in, and we've talked about that. But think about here, okay? J.J. McCarthy. So if, KO, who is friends with Kupp, can certainly sell that one. Now, in the twilight of his career, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Cooper Kupp, an offensive line now that should be giving the quarterback more time. If Cooper Kupp wants to win, like if he just wants a bag again, go play it with Darnold. He'll get you the ball. I don't think that team's going to be particularly good. I don't know. But the Vikings are a very compelling case if Cooper Kupp wants to try and win. And just as importantly, boys, challenge the team that gave up on him, because it's going to be the Rams.
Yeah, I love the idea of Cooper Kupp in a Vikings uniform, and I think it would be super fun. It's like a kind of a fantasy football type scenario. It's the 3 deep that we saw back in the late 90s. But I just don't know that you're going to find him and or Jordan Addison enough targets to make everyone happy. Kupp would literally one of 2 things would have to happen. Kupp would either have to come in here clearly understanding, and you'd have to pay him this way too, because he's not going to make a bunch of money as your 3rd receiver. He have to understand you are the number 3 receiver, because I don't believe he is as good as Jordan Addison is right now at age going into 23. I mean, Addison's more explosive.
Agreed.
I think Addison's certainly a better deep threat than Cooper Kupp. Or you have to tell Jordan Addison going into year 3, a cantankerous, interesting personality.
Right.
hey, so you're going to be our number 3 receiver now.
Yeah, no.
Your target share is going to go down.
Yeah.
Will he handle that, or will that turn into a disaster behind the scenes? So I just like Jalen Naylor was the Vikings' number 3 wide receiver last year. He only had 42 targets all season. Jordan Addison only had 99 targets to Jefferson's 154. And there were times where he's posting free 3 on the internet because he's not getting targeted enough.
2 thoughts on this. I'm not completely dismissing the fact that Addison could be traded. I don't think so, but I'm not dismissing it. It is one way, if you really want draft capital, it is one way to get it immediately.
Okay.
But here are the 2 factors that Cooper Kupp, if I'm O'Connell, and by the way, I know Kupp's game. I'm a guy who's his buddy. I was his OC with the Rams. 2 things here. One is, at some point in time here, probably in training camp, Addison's almost certainly going to be suspended for 3 games for the alleged driving while intoxicated in California last year. The other thing is, if you look 2 years ago, Jefferson gets hurt, misses time. Last year, I believe Addison missed a couple of games after the opener, and then he got hurt again. I think he missed like three games or something like that. So my point being is, things change. But if you're Cooper Kupp, coming to a familiar place would be a selling point to me, and you're going to get opportunities. Like, yeah, on opening day, you are the 3rd guy, assuming that Jordan's here. I definitely get that. But I'm just throwing it out there that it's one way to get to a team that I think is going to win, and it's also, there are going to be chances, and I don't think Jordan can, I don't think he's going to dodge that suspension. So
I'll throw another little cup of cold water on this one.
Oh, I like it.
Pun intended.
With my fries.
That do you think another, I guess, two cups of cold water. One, I don't think the Vikings are going to make a big jump in pass attempts. They took a drop off the first 2 years of KOC's tenure. They were like league leaders or top 5 in passing attempts, even with Dobbs and Nick Mullins.
Sure.
And then with Darnold last year, they said, okay, let's not put that load on him. Let's run the ball more. They weren't super effective doing that, but they ran the ball a lot more. J.J. McCarthy is used to the run-heavy Michigan. I think there's some projection that you could definitely put more throws on his shoulder and he'll be fine and maybe thrive. But I think it's fair to say there's not likely to be more targets in play than there were last year. So are you going to then run more 11 personnel, 3 wide receivers, and take a tight end off the field? I think they're more likely to lean into the heavier personnel packages. That's right.
Football.
More Josh
I
Oliver.
I love heavy.
Because you've got a quarterback that's never played an NFL regular season snap, used to a smaller load of pass attempts.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Again,
It's a great conversation.
if Kupp comes in here, it probably has to be a Jordan Addison trade. You're also then getting 10 years older at that position.
I'm not saying that's perfect. I am just saying don't close the door there. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but the show is NFL Takes.
That's true. And that is a take.
NFL Takes. And give me a cup for my diet pop that I'm going to enjoy with my Will fries. Thank you.
Okay, my next take is the Bears still don't do much for me.
Really?
I know they've been the toast of the NFL. Look at, even though the Vikings have actually spent more money to fix their trenches and more money in free agency than the Bears have.
Yeah.
As we record this, no team has spent more money in free agency than the Vikings over a multi-year period. But yeah, the Bears, they brought in, the Vikings overhauled 40% of their offensive line. The Bears overhauled 60% of their offensive line. And they brought in a couple defensive down linemen, including Grady Jarrett from the Falcons. So they beefed up their trenches. But the Bears have never had a 4,000-yard passer. The Bears still have a quarterback that is not comfortable playing on time, in rhythm, even going back to USC. And they have a head coach who's been a mastermind schemer as a coordinator, but has never been the leader of a 53-man roster before. So I'm still very much in. People love to crown the Bears. Last year, here it is. Caleb Williams, and they got some weapons, and Keenan Allen. And there are some people predicting the Bears might be a dark horse Super Bowl candidate, a Super Bowl contender. And they started 4-2 even, and then they lost like every single game until they pick up a 5th win late. I can't remember, but I'm not impressed with winning the free agency period of the offseason to save your garbage franchise. If you're a team like the Vikings or the Commanders and you're looking to go from here up to another level, okay. If you're looking to completely save your franchise by trading for Joe Thuney and signing an expensive center in Drew Dahlman, I don't know if those guys are going to be the core to what turns your franchise around.
I feel like you are, and I know this because I've been guilty of the same thing. I feel like you and Ben Johnson got off on the wrong foot, and you really don't like him. Like, I'm willing to give him time. I have no idea. It's going to take some time, but I feel like you, since the day that Johnson came in and tried to give a somewhat awkward press conference, not Sirianni bad, but somewhat awkward. I feel like you have had it out for Ben.
I think history is on my side, for one, when it comes to the great offensive mastermind, the Adam Gase, the whoever. You could literally name 100 of these guys. Brad Childress. Yeah, well, but Kevin O'Connell is in the minority. Most of the masterminds that get hired, just like most head coaches who get hired,
give
period.
It time, that's what I'm saying.
That's fine.
Be like me. Be patient.
I'll give it time
be
too.
Nice to people.
But these people who are like crowning the Bears because they brought Drew Dahlman in, who's basically a slightly better version of Garrett Bradbury. The Vikings have a better starting center than the Bears do, and they spent half the money on him.
Okay, yeah. I'm just saying, it feels like from the day that Ben walked in that door at Hallis Hall, Phil Mackey has had it out for him.
I'm
willing to
skeptical.
give him time. I'm willing to give time. I will say this. I like the thought of what they're doing as far as the lines go. But yeah, do I expect them to soar to the top of the North? Absolutely not.
Here's my favorite Bears offensive stat. This is what Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams are fighting against, this current. The Bears have had a top 5 scoring offense 3 times since 1965.
Yeah, it's remarkable.
3 times since 1965.
Quarterbacks, man. Like you've gone through the list. It is futility upon futility.
In fact,
the Vikings have been bad. Not even close.
Yeah, but they've also had some talent come in the door. I mean, like Mitch Trubisky was a first-round pick, and Jay Cutler had talent, and Justin Fields was a first-round pick, and they either overdraft or they ruin these guys. How about top 10? That's not as much of a high bar to clear, right? Top 10 offenses in Bears history. 6 times since 1965 have they even had a top 10 scoring offense. 7. Make it 7 times. So I'm just skeptical. I think people need to take a deep breath on crowning the Bears the next double-digit win team in, by the way, the hardest division in the entire league probably at this point.
Yep. That's fair.
I don't know. I'll push back because I think the NFC North did get better. And look, it will be very poetic and classic Chicago Bears for them to throw all this money into their trenches and watch it just not amount to anything. Like that is kind of the classic history, what will happen to the Bears. But they have a rookie scale quarterback. They have a generational talent here. They have an offensive coach. You just saw how other teams are trying to fix their trenches. I applaud what the Bears are going to do here. And do I think they're a better team than last year? Yeah, I do think they're a better team. I think Green Bay going out, and we'll see the contract figures on Aaron Banks. They still do have some cap space to play with. I'm curious what they're going to do. I think the NFC North did get better, and that includes the Vikings. Like the Vikings improved significantly over the last 12 to 24 hours. But I look at the rest of the NFC North. The Lions might come down to earth, but they're not going to roll over by any means. I think the NFC North in general has gotten better.
So you agree with me then? If the NFC North got better, the Bears would have to double their win total to get to 10, which would still put them in last place in a division that got better.
I mean, we'll see how a division shakes out, but a 10-win team should still probably be in the playoff mix.
Yeah, they'd have to double their win total to get there. So let's calm down on the Bears, America.
I mean, I feel I kind of agree with Judd. Like, you have a very big vitriol against the Chicago Bears.
Well, no, you said you were going to push back, and you didn't. And so who's pushed back? Let's go.
Okay. It's very weird.
What's weird? Wait, what's weird about me being skeptical of the Bears?
I think there's nothing wrong being skeptical about the Bears, but just like, okay, yeah, they're double their win total. That would mean that they're an improvement of this last year, and they're probably a playoff team.
Yeah, and I'm saying they're not going to double their win total. but everyone's crowning them as like look at what the Bears have won the offseason already, and they've
that happened last year. I'm not sure that's the case.
I didn't know you guys were closet Bears fans.
I called it. You do not you didn't like the Bears. You were predisposed to not like the Bears going into before Ben Johnson got the job, and then you decided you don't like Ben. And I think the Bears have improved themselves. But if I was to predict the division right now, right here, right now, I'm going Detroit. This is a tough one. This is close.
The Detroit climbing back up that mountain minus their 2 coordinators is going to be tough to go as far as they did the last 2 years.
But I still like the roster. I still like the offensive line. I'm not going to knock them off the top of the perch quite yet. I might before the season.
They might lose Zeitler, too. Zeitler's a free agent.
Yeah, and who knows? That's a good point. I'm going to go Detroit, Minnesota, Green Bay, Chicago. But Green Bay, Minnesota, and Detroit, I am not... Like, I could be easily swayed there.
Right now,
I'm not putting Chicago.
Feel like the Vikings with their defense, if the Vikings are going to get pressure without having to send 2 extra guys every time, boy, like, I know they might not win 14 games again. I don't know that anyone wins 14 games in this division if the Packers start winning some games against
right
teams.
Well, if Jordan Love starts off healthy, I'm curious to see him like from day one, because he got hurt in the opener in Brazil last year, right? And came back too soon against the Vikings and looked terrible in that first half. So it's going to be rough. But, I think Chicago's improved. I think Chicago's still my last place team.
Yeah. Okay. Glad we all agree that the Bears are still going to be in last place.
You just hate the Bears. It's just incredible. It's a bit. Anyway, okay, here is mine. We're about to find out. We've never really seen this before. We're about to find out just how much KOC rehabilitation quarterback school one needs. Daniel Jones is aborting the program early. He is leaving. He is walking out the door early. Now he's going to get
his friends and family are warning him.
Now he's going to get a chance with the Colts, but it's sort of weird because he's going to get a chance with the Colts. But Anthony Richardson, I think at the end of the day, if he can win the job, I think he's going to be the starter still. So Jones is going to challenge him. So it's going to be sort of this weird game back and forth. I don't know that the Colts culture, I mean, I don't think they're a dumpster fire. I also don't think it's great. I don't think it's near what the Vikings is. And I don't know that Shane Steichen can be in any way, shape, or form. I think the answer is no, compared to KOC as far as his work with QBs, especially ones who are vulnerable. Anthony Richardson, vulnerable. Look at what KOC had to tell that kid last year. You're good. He basically went Stuart Smalley, right? You're good enough. You're great. And darn it, people like you. And then you got Jones now, who's sort of in the same boat, right? And Daniel Jones, wisely, I think, signed to the Vikings practice squad in very late November. So he was part of O'Connell's school of QB rehabilitation, but not for long. So we're about to find out now. I don't know that leaving the program as quickly as he did is smart. And I honestly think, so what's the report that he got a year and approximately 14 million?
With up to 17 if he hits certain benchmarks. Yeah.
And Doogie said that the Vikings were 1 year, 12-ish, or I got to be honest. If he was stepping into the Colts job and said he is the starter, which by the way would be predisposed to being dysfunctional by itself, but I think he's going to have to compete. I think I would have come back here. And if McCarthy gets hurt, you play. But if nothing else, for $12 million, if I could have gotten the infrastructure here for a year, I think I would have taken it. I think we're about to find out, but I think he made a mistake.
I agree with you. It's super short-sighted, I think, to go into the situation. So he essentially chose maybe a few $1 million more in the short term to just get a quicker path to playing time. But even if he gets that, first of all, if he doesn't get the playing time, then it's all right, you just got beat out by a guy that can't complete 50% of his passes. What does that do for your stock going forward beyond 2025?
Right.
Or maybe he gets beat out or doesn't, plays a few games. He's kind of on his own at this point. He's gonna have to beat out Anthony Richardson and then immediately snap out of, what he was doing the last couple of years in New York.
Right.
Whereas he could have made, let's say, $8 million or $10 million, have a gap year, learn, sit behind McCarthy, and maybe he doesn't play. Like Sam Darnold got to play, which is why he got $100 million. But Sam Darnold doesn't get the Vikings contract to start at $10 million if not for his gap year in San Francisco in the
Correct.
Shanahan system.
Yes.
So it's kind of like long term, I feel like for a 27-year-old or a 28-year-old Daniel Jones, if you sit, still make a few $1,000,000, take a deep breath, reset your value, and then go on the hunt next off season, or maybe even play some games if McCarthy gets hurt or something.
Yes.
It feels short-sighted. Best of luck to Daniel Jones. It was fun having you on the practice squad for a month.
And I guess my question is this: as head coach of the Colts, at least, who has Shane Steichen helped? Like I know that Richardson can't hit the broadside of a barn, but the point is he also has gotten no help. Clearly, like when O'Connell, it was enlightening when O'Connell pulled him aside and basically said what he felt Anthony Richardson had to hear, and Richardson responded, and the dude was benched for Joe Flacco, which God bless him, it's Joe Flacco at what 40-ish or so. I also think when you're part of a culture where you don't understand that you can't take a blow in game, like that was all blamed, and it was his fault. Richardson ran for 20 yards and came out, and it's like, dude, quarterbacks don't come out. But what does that say about the Colts structure?
I would say to defend Shane Steichen, the reason he got that job is the work he did with Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia to turn Hurts into a high-end quarterback.
Yep.
And it might be, and this is where it's like Brian Daboll is on the hot seat because their quarterback play has been garbage. But Brian Daboll also got like a passable season out of Daniel Jones. We're trying to figure out in the NFL, is it bad coaching? Like KOC is proving if you're really good at what you do, you can elevate quarterbacks.
Right.
But there's also a line that is to be drawn, and KOC has drawn it and says, hey, there's certain guys that just aren't salvageable.
Yes.
Is Daniel Jones just not good? Is Anthony Richardson just not accurate enough? Hey man, this is the NFL. We're not going to – you got to be a certain level of good for us to even work with you.
Yep. And
that's where I'll defend Shane Steichen a little bit on these.
I think there's a interesting dynamic here, though, and we've discussed this, but, O'Connell's special because he can do like 8 jobs at once, right? Head coach, he's been done really well. QB, whisperer, lots of things. Establish a culture. I think a guy like, at the end of the day, Steichen, Daboll, I think they just might be, and there's nothing wrong with this, really good quarterback coordinators. I think when you're doing the amount of things that is necessary, and that O'Connell, I don't want to say he makes it look simple, but he certainly does it well. I think that's where we say, hey, okay, who's the next guy who's done a good job with a quarterback who's going to translate? But when you look at the amount of things that a head coach must control and must do, we get back to, that's why some guys are put on this earth to coordinate offenses or defenses. And in the case of the offensive guys, they do great jobs with quarterbacks. But if you give them the whole litany, the whole day-long schedule, you got to do this and you got to do media, and now you got to do this, I think it overwhelms guys, and something has to give. And in a lot of cases, I think it's the things that they were the best at previously that they don't have time for now.
Yeah. Warren Sharp with a really interesting tweet about the Anthony Richardson-Daniel Jones quarterback competition. He says, Richardson versus Jones won't go well for Richardson. Daniel Jones will look much better without pads during all the offseason workouts because he's more accurate.
Oh, sure.
So he's going to be slinging it around with accuracy.
Yep,
and
that's fantastic for him, too.
So good luck in Indianapolis there.
Yeah, and that's great, too, because all spring it's going to be Daniel Jones looks so good, blah, blah, blah. Then he's going to get in like game 3, and it's just going to be a disaster because you know why? Because he left rehab school too early.
Yep. You keep bringing up Anthony Richardson for quarterback rehab school, but I am excited for Caleb Williams to enter Kevin O'Connell quarterback rehab school in 2 years.
Wow, can you imagine that?
Be crazy.
Ryan Poles, I mean,
he can be the assistant GM after Ryan Grigson goes and gets a job as a head GM somewhere with these outstanding offseasons.
And that'll go well.
Well, I mean, Kwesi's not making decisions in a vacuum.
No, I think Grigson's
Ryan Grigson has been
I think
very,
Ryan Grigson,
very influential.
I think Ryan Grigson, I think he's adept at pro personnel. I do not think he can run a department. Everybody, you know what we got? Glass ceiling. Everyone's hitting it and breaking through it, and they're all allowed to. Nobody ever says, it's like me. If I said, you know what, I should be on First Take, and you guys would be like, no, you shouldn't. You'd suck. And it's like, no, you don't understand. I'm First Take material. They should look at me.
What? I need to see this. Have you been thinking about this?
No. I'm saying everybody wants to do something they're not capable of doing. Like a coordinator.
You don't think you'd be capable of debating Stephen A. Smith?
I think I would. It'd be terrible. First of all, it's TV.
You just get smoked in an argument.
Well, no. You're talking sound bites. TV is the worst.
Well, we're kind of on TV right now.
Yeah, but we don't. But we've got time. Like, I don't have a producer. Declan's not like, wrap it up so we can get. Yeah, exactly right. TV's awful. But what I'm saying too is, like, can you see me daily in like a suit and tie trying to debate things? Yeah, and then
why don't you ever wear a suit and a tie to this show? Class it up a little bit.
For a good reason. I like being on this show. I'm not trying to go through the glass ceiling.
I need to see Judd and Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. cracking his neck, closing his eyes before he starts.
That's no. I'm good. You know what? God bless him. $100 million contract.
Amazing. Yeah. 5 years, 100. How many? We should make a list of like all the NFL free agents that signed and
he's gonna
slot Stephen A. Smith in just above Will Fries.
And
he's just above Will Fries.
His show load decreases.
Yeah.
And he's going to talk more non-sports stuff.
Right. But the ESPN salary cap went up. So, kind of evens out. All right. Purple Daily NFL takes here. We'll be on the lookout for more free agency news. See you guys.